This is the 45th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the last week of May 2011. This episode is titled, My Car is My Best Friend. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, cloud computing experts. I'm your host, Jason Howard, and joining me today for the 45th time on this very special, nice warm day here in New York. I don't know why I always have to mention the weather, but I do, because it's good on a podcast that you hear like a week later, like what the weather was a week ago. Very important. But here not to talk about the weather, other than those cloudy days, is Justin Elstein. Justin, how are you? Co-host of CloudFocus Weekly.
Don't forget my title, co-host. Doing well. You know, one of my favorite podcasts, his opening thing is, it's a sunny day in Southern California, or it's a hazy day, my favorite podcast.
What is it?
The BS Report by Bill Simmons of ESPN.
Yeah.
That's how he starts off his podcast. And some of his guests are like, why do you even say that? He's like, I don't know, it's kind of just
something
the way to start the show.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
It's a good way to start the show.
Finally, the spring/summer weather has arrived in the Northeast.
We skipped over spring. It went from a cold, miserable...
spring just rained.
Just rained. But it got down to 50s, weird stuff. But we have other things on the agenda than the weather.
We do.
We should put that as a first.
Mm-hmm.
First, we have Salesforce news that we'll go over. We have some big news. We have some news about cars.
From Japan.
And some news about bands.
Car bands.
Car bands. We have some Twitter news. So Twitter's been kind of doing some stuff lately. And got some news about that.
More than just tweeting?
More than just tweeting. We have a bunch of stuff because we did some research last week on Twitter when we were finding out who's where. And there's a couple pieces of Twitter news that you want to hang in there for. And then we get Sparrow Gets Social, which is it's going back to where a blog post I wrote a long time ago about email clients and why aren't email clients getting more social. And so one is, and so you want to hear about that. I'm not going to make my pick of the week because I already have. And then we have, of course, ending up the CloudFocus app pick of the week, which is clearly the most liked part of this podcast. We knew that because that's why we put it. That's why I put it at the end.
I have 2 this week.
You have 2?
Yeah, I have 2. Because you're usually the one that's like, I have 4 this week, and then you just throw them in there. So
that's
I
true.
Actually put 2 on the Google Wave so that you would see them.
Nice way to work Wave in there.
Always try.
All right, so let's kick it off with the Salesforce news.
Yeah.
Big news for Salesforce.
Big announcement.
Give me the first one.
Big announcement in Japan earlier in the week. Salesforce and Toyota have partnered to create a private label social network for Toyota. It's going to be called, I believe it's going to be called Toyota Friend. And this is essentially having Salesforce's technology power a social network for Toyota customers. And the Toyota customers, the neat, interesting aspect of it, I think, is that Toyota customers will be able to interact with their car as if their car is their friend on a social network. And actually be...
Say what?
Say what now? Yeah, your car is your friend. So I think this is an extremely interesting use of this social layer of the Salesforce or Force.com platform, whereby...
Give me an example of how the
I'm about
innovation...
to.
Okay,
I was just about to.
We'll do it now.
All right.
Now.
So I have a Scion, which is actually made by Toyota.
Yes.
Doubt my car is going to work with this.
No.
But anyway.
And the way you treat your car, you wouldn't want to be friends
My car would be
with...
like, I hate you, Justin. Unfriend. Unfriend you now. But so essentially what the car is going to be able to do is talk back through chatter, really.
Is it chatter? Is it chatter behind it?
I believe it is. No announcement that says it's chatter or not, but I believe it's chatter because it's those social aspects of feeds,
right,
and alerting, and your car is going to be able to say, "I need an oil change," or "My belt is broken. Take me to the shop," or instead of having the check engine light,
right,
when you get in your car and turn it on, it's going to let you know, "Hey, check your engine."
It's going to post on
your
wall.
It's going to post it right to you. Your dealer will be able to, you'll be able to interact with your dealership or your service center and say, I need to get my car serviced, or it might even know your car needs servicing and be able to push out to you and say, hey, your car needs servicing because we know through the there's a word that they've been using here. within the car, like telenetics or something like that. I'm going to find that exact word in a moment.
Okay.
And be able to say, hey, we have an opening today at 11:30.
Okay.
Do you want it?
Okay.
And be able to bring your car in. Not clear to me whether or not this is going to be just between you, your car, and Toyota, or whether this is going to be between you, your car, Toyota, and any other Toyota car owner. Not 100% sure.
Or since you say it's going, you're saying that it's. I guess the interesting thing that I'm thinking about is it its own private closed social network?
Yes.
It's not connected to Facebook.
It will be able to connect to other social networks like Facebook and Twitter, but it is in of itself its own social network built using Salesforce's technology.
Okay, I mean, really interesting. I love the kind of spin. I mean, part of me thinks, what's the difference between this and it just my car sending me an email? I mean, I'm going to get old school here. Why not just send me an email when you need an oil change? Why not send me an email when you go post to my Toyota social network wall? It's like, why don't you tell me? There's going to be a funny cartoon about you get into your car, it's broken, and you can't figure out why until you go home and jump on the internet, and then you go, oh man, my car's belt was broken. I didn't know in the car because it posted on my wall, which I don't see until I get home. So but interesting.
I mean, it's going to be available on mobile devices. It's going to be able to. I imagine you'll be able to set it like SMS me or something.
Do other things.
Things with it. You'll be able to. I'm sort of reading through the press release, which is it's really press releasey. It's not too detailed.
It's light.
You'll be able to extend it through other social networks like Twitter and Facebook. I think it's interesting. It might not be like the biggest thing in the world because it's the first one, but since they're doing it, it'll spark many other ideas of other things that could potentially use like these private social networks to let you know about things. Right.
And clearly,
telematics, by the way, is the word I was looking for before.
Well, we talked a lot about the app the other day that I think I made as one of my pick of the weeks, but Glimpse, the ability to sort of send someone where your location was. And, one of the things that I struggle with because I'm forbidden from texting while driving because it's not good, and I would never do that.
It's also against the law.
And it's against the law.
You're forbidden by other things.
Than my wife.
Yeah.
But when I want to send that Glimpse, would that be cool if that were built into the car? Sort of like I could just go sitting in the car, go click, send, to this person or these people, and it's connected to a social network. Having the car talk to Facebook and pull in my friends' profiles, not for me to read, but maybe for me to call because it has their email, their phone number. So I think there's certainly stuff if I brainstormed why I would want my car to be talking socially, it could check in for me everywhere as we drove along. It just checks into highways. Jason Atwood just checked into I-95 on Foursquare. I don't know, interesting stuff, but cool that Salesforce is behind it.
Well, it's interesting because Toyota also has this enormous relationship with Microsoft and Azure. They're building a lot of stuff in Azure, so it'll be interesting to see where these two things intermingle if they ever do.
Speaking of Microsoft, it's not on the schedule, but I have to bring it up as just a little side comment.
I don't know what it is, but go ahead.
So Ballmer, Steve Ballmer, the ruler of all things Microsoft, a hedge fund manager, obviously owns a lot of Microsoft stock, has called for him to resign. After a couple days ago, what happened was he came out at one of these developer conferences, and we all remember the dancing monkey boy.
Oh, that was the greatest
that was like
YouTube video
10 years ago or something. Developers. He gets sweaty and it just gets out of breath.
He was really sweaty.
It's hysterical.
Find that on YouTube.
Yes, it's called Steve Ballmer.
Steve Ballmer dancing crazy. We'll get it there.
Monkey boy, I think that's what it's. Yeah. But so there's been lots. So the other day he announced a bunch of features that were coming. I think he said like 500 features are coming into Windows 8 or something like that. And then he wouldn't give the details, and said the details were coming, and I guess PR had to retract on it and say, well, we're not going to talk about how many features, and we're not talking about the timeline. So it was one of those, oops moments, but he's had more than a few of these oops moments. So anyway, someone's calling for him to resign.
Interesting.
Clearly it's not going to happen. But to be honest, as he has led this company, Microsoft that is, and again, I'm nowhere near the issue. I try not to use Microsoft tools. Well, I use them as appropriate if I like them, but generally they're not as good. I just find it interesting that he sort of has been the problem for that company in a lot of ways. I mean, it's
that company has a plethora of
problems. It lost direction. Microsoft has lost direction.
Well, they want to at the same time move forward and into the cloud. As they want to do that, it cuts into a core of their business. So, like, you have to imagine that there are big execs on two sides of one table, and one saying, we must move to the cloud, and platforms must move to the cloud, and there's another one saying, but I sell tons of stuff.
I sell software for $400 a shot.
Lots of it. So no.
But that's the thing. Their whole business is selling operating systems, which aren't going away anytime soon. Even Google Chromium or whatever is an operating system and will still sit. It's open source, but it sits on a piece of hardware. I don't know. I think it's interesting. They haven't innovated in a long, long time.
While we're on the Microsoft rat hole,
rat hole.
I put I tweeted a picture of me. My Mac now will boot in Mac OS X.
Yes.
And Windows 7, and it wasn't very difficult to do.
Well, you had to try two. You had to try two different versions of Microsoft Windows.
No, I needed the right version of Windows. Okay. I needed Windows 7. It
Not
wouldn't
XP.
work for XP. Yeah. So I needed Windows 7, but then once I got through it, I can now kind of boot my Mac as a Windows machine.
Yep.
Fun for everyone.
This has nothing to do with CloudFocus.
I just went there.
All right,
we were talking about Microsoft.
Let's get back onto Salesforce and the other small bit of news.
DF11.
For DF11, tagged #DF11.
Can you do that, like, verbally? Hash something?
I just did it.
Okay.
I've done it in emails. It still doesn't work, but I'm going to keep trying.
Maybe soon.
Until someone puts it into one of their emails. Is Metallica is the band at Dreamforce 11. We're talking about Salesforce's annual user conference, which is happening the end of August. For those of you who have not registered or signed up, I think there's some specials. I think there's some developer specials, and there's the
nonprofit special.
It's a nonprofit special,
$250,
and I think there's still like a sign up early $699 special. We are going to be sponsors there, which is great. Arkus will be there. So now Metallica is going to be leading off the sort of the musical guest. Last year it was Stevie Wonder. 2 years ago it was Foo Fighters. 3 years ago it was U2. No, it wasn't U2. They always play U2. Who was it?
They had the Foo Fighters there.
Who was it 3 years ago?
Oh, well, they had Stevie Wonder, they had the Black Crowes.
Black Crowes was...
And then they had Foo Fighters before that.
Okay.
I don't remember the one before that. I don't even know if I was at that Dreamforce before that.
Maybe. So anyway, Metallica, that's kind of interesting.
There's a lot of little rumors floating, like it's going to be an outdoor show. A lot of things floating around on the Twitter, but yet none of it's yet like confirmed from at Dreamforce or at Salesforce. But it seems like Metallica is going to be the thing. This is from inside sources. Unnamed inside sources.
So, but not your real. I don't really know your music taste too much, but
not really my music taste.
Yeah.
I'm more of a give me the Black Crowes or Stevie Wonder. But I really did enjoy the Foo Fighters, which I didn't really, but then when I saw them live, I really loved them. So thinking maybe seeing a band live gives you a whole nother appreciation for them. And as a Yankee fan, Enter Sandman has a special place in my heart as Mariano comes out and closes out games at Yankee Stadium. They play Enter Sandman because obviously he's closing out the game.
So you'll wait for that one
that'll
song.
Be a big one.
That'll be worth it.
Enter Sandman.
So cool. So
Mosh Pit at Dreamforce.
I'm sure there'll be more to come about that. We will have tons of news about Dreamforce coming up as the months go on. We'll have podcast about
pods.
We might be there. We might be live from Metallica.
I think we should do a pod from the floor.
Well, we decided we were going to.
I mean, it's going to have a lot of ambient noise.
Yeah.
But people could swing by. We'll tell you when we're doing it. We'll do some interviews. What have you.
We're
announcing this now. We're making it up on the fly.
There you go. So, other news.
Let's talk about the Twitter.
In the Twitter land, a couple big things. One, I think, one's huge, and then two sort of are smaller. The big one is that Twitter has bought TweetDeck. For $40 million.
Yep.
This comes on the back of actually buying another application, which we just helped a client get off of because they shut it down. So there's a good Twitter / story, which is Twitter bought a company called DabbleDB, which is an online database with a user interface, so it's not sort of it's not sort of what database.com is, but or will be when it releases. It's is it Excel on steroids? Is it Google Docs on steroids?
It's like those Intuit products that they have, where it's just like a database that you can build.
It's
online.
access online.
Yeah. Or like SharePoint, sort of.
So anyway, they bought it.
They
bought that and shut it down.
They bought it for the people, apparently.
Well, they apparently bought it for not that product. They bought it for this other product, the side product, which was interesting. And then they bought TweetDeck, which TweetDeck is
a bigger one.
Yeah, TweetDeck is it's basically an app. It's a client app. So they've now bought Tweety and turned it into Twitter, which is both the online, both the iPhone and Mac OS X versions.
And that's the Twitter app now.
Yeah.
So TweetDeck will likely be incorporated.
I think it'll be its own thing because TweetDeck is really about spreading out. I've seen it. I'll tell you where I see it is. I see it on Meet the Press. I watch Meet the Press, the podcast, and they at the end of Meet the Press now they go over. It's kind of cool because Meet the Press kind of is a newsmaker. So whatever they say in Meet the Press sometimes makes news immediately. So at the end of the show, because it's a live show, they'll go over to Twitter and TweetDeck and say what is trending now based on what we just said in the last 57 minutes. And then they'll say, oh, well, that comment or this comment. So it's kind of cool. But they use TweetDeck as sort of the show-off of all the things.
Well, it's a lot like Seesmic. Seesmic is like multi-pane view of Twitter.
Yep.
Hootsuite has a very similar look and feel, like multi-panes. I've actually never used TweetDeck on the Mac. I've used it on the iPad.
Yep.
But I'm just a fan of regular old Twitter app.
Yeah.
Twitter.app.
Yeah. I haven't gotten into it. Maybe the people who use Hootsuite and things like that are usually power users.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm a
tweeter. Power marketer.
Right. Or they might have clients they're doing stuff for. I know one of my friends who runs a company that does social network, he has clients who he tweets for, and so he uses Hootsuite to have multiple profiles.
All these accounts at one time.
So, and the other thing is Twitter's launched a new product, a new feature that came out 2 days ago, and I got it today, which is when someone retweets you, you get an email that tells you that someone retweeted your story. Kind of interesting.
I have yet to get this, but I
got one this morning.
Retweeted, I thought.
So, interesting stuff. I mean, Twitter is obviously making more and more headway. And then in other news, which we actually forgot to cover in Twitter news, you and I were having a discussion about who's the most followed.
We were.
Because, believe it or not, we have the same conversations when we're not in front of the mic.
Now we have to repeat them.
Yeah, so
they're better the first time, though.
We were talking about who's the most followed and how do you get rankings, how do you get statistics. We went and looked it up, and basically we went to go find, we said, who do we think is the most followed person, celebrity, whatever. And it happened to be Lady Gaga, who had just passed, like a day before, 10 million followers.
Yeah, the first 10 million follower person.
First and only so far.
Yeah.
So Bieber is right behind her.
Bieb's right there.
Bieber with Bieber fever. And then Barack is right behind them, which you say is kind of strange, to have our president not be the number one. I think
thought he would be number one.
I think being number 3 is pretty cool because I
think it's phenomenal for a president and not like a entertainment celebrity. He's a celebrity, but he's not he's not an entertainer. He's the president.
Right.
I thought he would have been number one just because he's on there, and you would think almost anybody on Twitter would just follow him. But I don't know because I signed up for Twitter long ago. When you first signed up,
2 days after I did.
Yeah, back in a long time ago, and I think it was 2007. Our date was, whatever.
Yeah.
The when you sign up, it doesn't it splash people in front of you.
Yes.
You should follow these people.
Yeah.
I mean, you would assume he would show up on everybody's, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I'll follow Barack."
I think the problem is that, and this was our comment offline. While he is a celebrity, his tweets, and this is the personal nature of Twitter and why people love Twitter is because it's very personal. You feel like Oprah is tweeting to you. You feel like Lady Gaga is talking to you because you're one of her little monsters or whatever. So you feel this connection. When you know it's the president who can barely have a piece of technology that's not from the last 10 years, that has a BlackBerry so locked down that it can only do 2 things, you know it's not him. He's not waking up in the morning like, oh, just met with the prime minister and off to lunch at Sparrow's. I mean, no, it's gonna.
Going to the pizza place tomorrow.
Yes, Sparrow.
In the mall.
Just met with Darrell Revis in New York City. No, he's not. So it's. I think the problem is it's not him, the person. You know it's not him. And if it is him, that's amazing. I'm gonna go follow him tomorrow. But I know it's not him. It's some sort of PR, whatever. So with Lady Gaga and the Bieber Fever, at least I think you think that it's the real person, and they probably talk from their voice. Meaning,
do you think it is? Do you think it is Lady Gaga, or do you think it's some person that she hired to do that?
If I were the super celebrity, I would not be the person who types it, but I could easily say, "Hey, tweet that I'm at this bar right now," and tell it to my personal assistant. And they would do it.
How lazy is that?
Well, she's doing a million things.
Oh, sure, she's like singing and dancing.
What's she going to tweet in the middle of her
song?
Doing
a million things. She's not doing a million things. She's not some... She's Lady Gaga. She's not Barack Obama.
All right, I have another rat hole.
Go on.
It's a cloud rat hole, though. Ready for
acceptable.
it? It's good.
It's a cloud hole.
It's my .01 pick of the week, which is that Amazon launched her new album, which came out this last week.
Yeah.
It launched her new album and launched it for 99 cents.
Whoa.
The whole album.
Did you buy it?
I did, and the reason they did that, they made a deal with her, obviously, because normally it's whatever, $12.99 on iTunes. But if you bought it through Amazon for this one day, although they've now redone it, so if you go right now, whenever you hear this podcast, I think it's still available.
Ooh.
You can get the 99-cent version.
Can't wait.
But it obviously downloads into your cloud drive, right? So this is all tying into what we talked about before with cloud drives and streaming and all that. And obviously Amazon's making...
How do I get to it?
So you can stream it right there, or you can download it to your iTunes.
Okay.
I did it, and you know what happened? It broke, and everybody's been complaining. It did not give me all her songs. It left out 3 tracks. So I have
when you actually went to download it.
When I went
hear it on your cloud drive?
It were missing. It was 1, 2, 3, 5, 9. It was missing tracks. An hour later, it was missing tracks. It's digital. It's on the cloud. How could it be missing tracks? You're not even copying it over to me. You're just enabling me for it. So apparently they've apologized. Amazon's apologized.
Did they refund your 99 cents?
No, because I think it'll eventually show up. But cloud drive fail. To me, it's like the first time I was like, yeah, why don't I just try it? Because A, it's cheap, like $10 cheaper. That's worth a click of a mouse.
And you were buying it anyway.
And I am. Hey, I'm not a little monster. But so anyway, it didn't work. And so I immediately thought, yeah, this is why iTunes is going to do just fine, because they got this. I've never bought it. No, that's not true. I bought one song on iTunes that didn't come down correctly, and I emailed them and they refunded me, and then it came down correctly. And they're very good on it with their support. So anyway, interesting stuff. Wow, we're going all over the place. So let's go to our last piece of little news. It's kind of tiny. It's tiny news, but we've sprinkled in lots of Microsoft and Lady Gaga, so I think we could make up for it. So an application that I talked about, I guess launched for like, I think it was 99 cents, maybe it was $10 or something, on the Mac OS X App Store, which is a new email client. It was supposed to be very minimalized, very quick, read from and work with Google really well.
It looked a lot like the Twitter.
Yeah, it had a new app, it had a new interface, kind of like things slid out, like the Twitter app, like both the iPad and the regular Twitter app. And it was cool and whatever. And I love me some email clients. I do. I would collect them. I was a Eudora fan. Eudora went away. So they're now releasing a new version, and the interesting piece of this is that they are going to be integrating social networks. So specifically Facebook. So anybody who's in your you're sending to and from, their Facebook profile will be pulled in via their email, so it'll look them up, and then you can friend them from right in the email. So it basically is tying in, and this is exactly what I think I talked about in some blog posts many months ago, which is why haven't email clients sort of gotten this? And then I think it asks the big question. The first post on the story, I think it's on TechCrunch, said the first post was like, why hasn't Google done this? Even with their own service, like why have they not integrated in Gmail social networking? It's right there. It's web-based. It's easy. Why don't you do it? The most they've done is put online status if you have Gtalk or whatever their IM service going. So anyway, I'm not making it my pick of the week, but if you haven't checked out Sparrow, it's a $10 app, I think. And the next version, which is coming out very soon, will have Facebook integration. I'll let you know once I play with it how cool it is. So, speaking of not picks of the week, why don't you give us 2 of your CloudFocus app picks of the week?
Sure. So I have 2 picks.
Excellent.
One is a Salesforce App Exchange product by Candor.
Oh, wow. I was going to say Force.com Labs?
No, not them. The app is called Field Trip. It is free.
Okay.
And Field Trip does something that a lot of us admins wish that we had built into the platform. It tells you which fields are being used and which aren't on specific objects or records, record by record. So, you can say on the accounts, show me what percentage of accounts have this custom field that I built filled out. Oh,
so it's data put in, not field used on different page layouts.
No, field used by users with data in it. So if you have an object with 400 fields, and you want to get rid of 300 of them because 400 fields is like ridiculous, and someone says, no, you can't get rid of those fields, we use those fields. You can use Field Trip to say, you know what, we have like 40,000 of these records, and 1% of them use this field for something.
Now, you could have done that in a report, but it would be painful.
Extremely painful.
You have to go field by field and say, is blank or isn't blank, or
it'd be really
is filled
hard
out.
to do. I mean, and you can report on these Field Trip records.
Oh, so it builds its own sub-record?
Right, and then you can report on it.
Okay, cool.
So it uses some batch processing to run through all the records, report back into its own records that you can view, and then report on those so that you can, go to stakeholder and say, hey, you had this field that you asked me to build like 8 months ago, and literally nobody's using it.
Right.
So let's get it off the page because it's cluttering things up and hurting adoption.
Nice.
So I thought that was a great product. Got it from Twitter. I was going back and forth with some people about Easy Describe, which is a pick that I've made in the past, and someone said, hey, is this similar to Field Trip? And then I looked at Field Trip and I said, oh,
Between Field Trip, Easy Describe, and the one you picked a couple weeks ago, the one that shows you
the ERD diagram.
Yeah, those are some real powerful. Those are high powerful.
Very good tools.
Yep, that might end up being a blog post itself.
I am helping the Salesforce admin. And the next one that I wanted to pick, I don't think this app is new, but it's new to me. It's called WhatsApp Messenger. And this is a cross-platform mobile messaging device or messaging app. So if you're, this came from a couple friends of mine. They have Blackberries, and they all BBM each other. The BlackBerry Messenger. Are you familiar?
I am. I have not had a BlackBerry in about a year and a half.
It's like a closed little messenger service that's only on the BlackBerry, and you can have groups of people and have these little conversations. They're not SMSs. They don't count against your texts. They're not emails. They're just quick. They're like chats. It's like chat.
It's persistent, so it shows you where you left off.
Persistent, has groups, all that kind of thing.
Nice.
So a couple of them moved off of Blackberries and moved on to either iPhones or Androids, and some still have Blackberries, and they're like, oh, this stinks. We're missing out on BBM. We used to have BBM, so now we all have this app, WhatsApp. So we all installed it, and it's like BBM, but cross-platform. So you can have an Android, you can have an iPhone, you can have a BlackBerry, and it's self-contained within this app, but it also has push notifications and badges.
Right.
So you can see I have 2 new messages there. You can create groups. You can send your location. You can send pictures. You can send voice.
So why would I want to use this app? The only reason I would want to use this app is if I had friends on BBN.
No, because it doesn't use BBM. It uses WhatsApp.
Oh.
It's its own thing. It's its own thing.
It doesn't connect to BBM.
It does not connect to BBM. It came out because, a bunch of my, this is how it came to me, 5 or 6 friends had Blackberries, and then a couple of them moved off, and they would talk to each other using BBM. This is, if you don't want to use SMS,
right?
You only got 200 text messages, and you send like 50 of them a day to all your friends. And
Right.
You don't want to send emails. You want to just have these little quick short form messages.
Right.
You use this app.
You don't want to have instant message, which exists and has existed forever. It's an open format. You
Yeah,
don't want to
it's
use
hard to
Facebook
do like
message.
groups and stuff on the instant messengers on the phones. The groups.
Okay.
Like you can have like a group of 6 or 7 people that you
Don't want to
have
use
a group
Chatter.
chat.
Chatter group, private Chatter, personal Chatter, chatter.com
no,
free.
not even there. Not even close. But yeah, 99 cents
Interesting.
in the iPhone
But
App Store.
but is its own system, so it's
its own
closed.
system.
Okay.
Goes over the Wi-Fi. Does not use your SMS, so if you have a limit like 200, don't have to worry about it.
Something more to
I think it's great.
waste my
I think
time.
it's cool.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. I have no,
And
I
it's-
wouldn't have no use because I don't have anybody I'd want it. And we basically everybody I know uses text. It would be like doing a seismic shift to everybody and be like, time to get off that thing that you're barely comfortable
it's more
doing.
Here's so you, me, and our partner that remains nameless.
Yes.
The 3 of us.
Yes.
If we all had the app, we can have a little group chat for the 3 of us, and just instead of having to, when you text somebody on the iPhone and you text 2 people,
Right.
it breaks. It breaks the.
It actually doesn't. It comes back as 2 as well.
No, it doesn't.
I've had multiple examples of on the iPhone now. If you text 2 people and they respond back, it comes back into the same chat with both people. And then if you respond again, it responds back to everybody. I've seen 5.
The incoming does not stay within that stream.
Yes, it does.
The back, no.
I'll show you an example. I will tweet.
Unless this is extremely brand new, this is news to me. Because for me, I've always texted out to like 3 people, and it goes out to 3 people, then they respond, and it goes into like their own, and I'm like, what? Oh, it's like completely out of context.
It literally happened the other day. It came back. Someone tweeted out to 5 or SMS out to 5 people, 3 of which I knew, 2 of which I didn't. I then responded thinking it would only go back to the 1. It went back to everybody. They all then saw it. 2 of them, one of them responded, "Who is this and why are you texting me?"
Yeah, that's why you don't want that.
No, listen. What if it was your group
odd.
of friends at work? And then one of them, who I did know, responded, and it went into the main body of the SMS where the original person had put the message and marked it off as that person. It was completely odd.
This must be very new.
I'm telling you, late breaking news.
I've never seen it.
I was traveling with you. I think I showed you. Didn't I show it to you? Oh, okay.
We're going to try this later.
Oh, yeah. I think it has something to do with the platform, what you're on, and if you have... I don't know. I there was some algorithm to it. Good pick. Love
Thanks. I think it's a great app.
it. That's great. So my one and only pick is something that could have been news, but
I put it in the wave as news, and you moved it.
I moved it because it's my pick. I have many picks, but I figured to throw this one out there because I actually tweeted it yesterday, which is that Seismic Mobile. Seismic, who is a maker of, I wouldn't want to call them a Twitter client,
Seismic
but
Desktop.
Seismic Desktop, which is
It's a social client.
Social client. It connects into Foursquare, it connects into Facebook, connects into Twitter, and it does it all together. And the nice bit about it is you can do what you don't want to do a lot, but you sometimes want to do sometimes, which is post to many of the same places.
Shoot this everywhere.
Yeah, put this on my Facebook, put this on Twitter, put this somewhere. And Seismic Desktop announced, I think 6 months ago, that they were going to, maybe more, that they were going to include Seismic Desktop with Chatter integration.
They did it at Dreamforce.
They had it out way before that, because I tested it in like a beta version months before that.
Yeah,
but
Dreamforce was more than
they
6
announced
months
it.
ago.
No, I know, but I'm saying so then it was sometime in the early fall. Anyway, the point is, I thought that's good, but I don't really like to go beyond. I like my one client, but on the mobile, I'm waiting for it to come. So it came out yesterday, the new release, Seismic for iPhone, and I assume other platforms. Sorry, I don't know. Now includes Chatter integration, so you can now add Chatter accounts, multiple, to your iPhone client, and you can do the unthinkable, and it gives you a nice big warning when you do it. You're about to post to both a private and public place. Are you absolutely sure? But you can send one message out to multiple places, which is really great. So if you were to, again, you could connect up your 2 Twitter feeds and a Chatter feed and even a Facebook and send it out to all of them at the same time. The connection, the setup of it, when you go to set chatter, little funky. It sends you an email, you then click on the email, you go back, it does like a whole bunch of weird stuff that I wouldn't have expected it to do. But it works, so I sent out a chat to both Twitter and into our internal chatter at the same time. So very cool. Of course, it doesn't. The problem is it's going to easily get behind. It's not going to have mentions, which already the iPhone app has. It's not going to have clickable topics. So while it's there, it's not going to have sort of the new features that are coming out in Chatter or push notifications, things like that. But anyway, that Seismic Mobile now has Chatter, and so that's my CloudFocus app pick of the week. And with that, I'll say the one thing we didn't mention, there's a couple new blog posts up on blog.arkusinc.com. Please go over there and check them out. You want to follow the company, it's at twitter.com/ArkusInc, ARKUSINC. And Justin here is at twitter.com/JustEdelstein, just crossing 300 followers the other day. Congratulations.
Yeah, big time.
That's pretty good. It's not the 10 million. You have a little to go to get to 10 million.
I'm chasing Gaga.
That should have been the title of the podcast. Chasing Gaga.
No, it just came right off the tongue.
I am at twitter.com/JasonMAtwood, and we're on Facebook, facebook.com/ArkusInc. We're also in Chatter, but you can't see us there. The podcast is subscribable in iTunes, where you can go in, subscribe to the podcast, and then you'll get the podcast as soon as it comes out. It's the best place to do it. Leave a review there. We'd love that. We got a couple reviews, but leave more. If you want to just rate it, you can rate it quickly, or you can actually leave a nice little review that we see. That's always great, and we appreciate it. Until next week, on This Week in CloudFocus Weekly, I'm going to say week 4 times, have a nice week, and enjoy those cloudy days.